Medicine Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Gorley. And it's a podcast, kind of been through this a little bit, but, in case you're new, it's the whole book, read the book, and then talk about it. And that is kind of the whole jam. But if you're still with us 13 episodes in, I hope you're enjoying it. I hope the book is getting better and better. And you're enjoying the little commentary and whatnot about it. And all goes well. So for today, we're going to get into Chapter 13. Chapter 13 kind of gives a little bit more backstory to Jen and her family. Talk about a little bit about some of the things going on and just why sometimes her life is hard. And by Chapter 13, I of course mean Chapter 12. I am totally said the wrong thing. But yeah, this whole chapter is just about her backstory. Obviously, Jen is with a single parent mom, which sometimes, which makes it even a little bit harder financially in her family, which is kind of a big thing. And I'll kind of get into a little bit of that, like the whole dad thing and whatnot, or lack thereof. So we're going to get started in this, and then we have lots of good things to commentate on it. But I'm excited for this. I do hear from a lot of people that this is one of their favorite chapters of the book, so I hope that you enjoy it. All right, Chapter 12. Sometimes melancholy has a smell. To Jen, it smelled like cheap men's aftershave. An old country farmer at the grocery store wearing a red flannel brought the fragrance of memories and quickly became the victim to Jen's disapproving glare. The man appeared puzzled, snapping Jen back to the present. The man she really wanted to glare at was John Morris. Johnny, as he was known to those who were actually close to him, was Jen's father. Jen had only interacted with her father for 3 brief periods in her life. The first period, which Jen remembered the least, stretched across the first 6 months of her life. Jen remembered this period of her life secondhand through stories she heard from her Aunt Julie and Lena, and from piecing together different photographs. According to Lena, Johnny loved Jen so much that he felt that he'd best help his family by moving out west to make money. They didn't have much back then. Jen once overheard Aunt Julie tell their neighbor that Johnny was a womanizer. Despite being married to Lena for just over a year, he couldn't handle her. And he convinced Lena that he was leaving for the good of the family, and that he would send money as soon as he made his fortune. Aunt Julie made the last 2 statements with air quotes, rolled eyes, and shakes of a head, unaware that Jen was listening, peeking through the crack of a slightly open door. The only other memento from this time was a photo of Johnny holding her as an infant, sitting on an old beige couch with yellow and brown plaid couch cushions. He had slick back hair, a white tank top style undershirt, and blue jeans with holes in them. Johnny gave a half smile to the photographer. It made her wonder whether there was a part of her dad that did like being a dad. Was there a part of him that did like her? Or was it a smile a mirage, like the idea of having a father in one's life? The second period of Johnny in Jen's life was when she was about 4. Despite being so young, Jen remembered the happiness. She remembered the laughs of her young mother, the smiles coming from the 2 sets of mouth, not just one. She remembered her dad tossing her up in the air and catching her with strong arms. Aunt Julie even got a picture of Jen falling mid-air from a toss still 2 inches from her dad's arms, hair still flowing in the wind. The smile on Jen's face was so wide that her little face could barely contain it. Their family was complete. Johnny even brought money when he returned. He brought $700 with him. It was not really that much money back then. It certainly wasn't that much money considering it took Johnny 3 years to earn it. It, however, was a lot of money to Lena, who was very proud of Johnny. Besides the happiness, the other thing that Jen remembered vividly were her tears. Jen was sent to Aunt Julie's house, who still lived in Ohio at the time, so her mom and dad could talk. At Aunt Julie's house, she told Jen, her dad was leaving and probably wasn't coming back. Jen cried for hours and hours until she couldn't cry anymore and had pains in her chest. It was the first time it had ever happened, and Jen had never forgotten it. When she got back from Aunt Julie's house, she found her home emptier. Lena admitted to Jen that her daddy had left, something Aunt Julie had already shared with her. Lena spent the next half an hour reassuring and crying with Jen. But there was something about her mom's tears that she knew he wasn't coming back. When Jen finally stopped crying, again she heard Lena say, Jen, don't worry, Daddy's going down south only for a couple weeks, just to make some money, and then he'll be back with us. He returned a couple weeks after Jen's 10th birthday, 316 weeks later to be exact. Not that Jen ever counted or anything, except for days she was bored in 6th grade math, and she did count. There were a few things that were much different about seeing her father for the third time. First, Jen remembered everything. Jen remembered when she yelled up to her mom that there was a strange man at the door holding flowers, a Barbie doll, and a baseball glove. She remembered the aftershave. She remembered the way she, even at 10 years old, thought her dad looked fake when he made promises, the same ones that her mom still seemed to believe freely. The strangest dynamic this time around was Ronnie. He'd been conceived the last time Johnny had been home, when Jen was 4, and since Johnny had not been back since, this was Ronnie's first and only interaction with his dad. An odd and complex set of emotions ran through her. She loved seeing Ronnie so happy. She loved watching her often bored 6-year-old brother play catch with the dad. She also hated watching her often bored 6-year-old brother play catch with a dad that could leave at any moment. During Johnny's stay, Jen felt a strange combination of relief, joy, and/or anger, resentment. These emotions changed in such an incredible frequency that it made her feel like a wreck inside. She recalled one 30-second period where she cried tears of joy followed by tears of anger. It was a couple days after Johnny's return. Jen had been distant with her father ever since he returned. After a day or so, Lena began to notice that Jen had been abnormally quiet. As she left for school, Lena advised Jen to open up her heart to her dad. Jen thought about her mom's advice all day at school and finally decided that she didn't need a dad and was going to tell him when she got home. Sure enough, Jen got off her bus and saw Johnny sitting on the porch. Jen marched off the bus, determined to give Johnny a piece of her mind. She stepped off the bus and moved stride by stride toward Johnny, but Johnny beat her to it. Jenny, I swear there could not be a prettier girl in the whole county. With your long brown hair and big brown eyes, I'm going to have to get a shotgun to fight off all the boys that be coming your way. This caught Jen off guard and made her really look at Johnny for the first time. He smiled widely and looked directly at Jen. He was still wearing his patent white t-shirt, but at least it looked new, and his jeans didn't have all the rip in them like Jen had seen in the pictures. His slicked back hair now had a small streak of gray and made him look a little bit more mature, but no less handsome. She let him hug her. Feeling his embrace made Jen remember how happy she was as a kid. That twitch of strong emotion made Jen's eyes well up, and she was glad Johnny's smiling gaze was interrupted by Ronnie running up and jumping in Johnny's arms. It was this jumping into Johnny's strong arms that was the second time Jen was overcome with emotions. This time the vivid memory and pictures of Johnny throwing Jen up in the air, combined with her seeing Ronnie thrown up in the air only to be caught by Johnny's strong arms, made Jen angry. Angry that her father left and let her crash down to the fatherless, insecure earth. Jen began to open up and talk some more with her father, and even initiated a hug with him for the first time in years. That brought tears of relief. But the relief only lasted about 36 hours until Johnny let everyone know that he would be moving on to get more work. This time, a buddy of his said Texas was where all the work was these days. This time, Jen did not cry, but was so angry she did not eat for 2 days. It wasn't until Morgan invited her to a theme park a day later that Jen finally got back to normal. Sometimes Jen wondered what revelries awaited Johnny in Texas that were so incredible as to abandon his own flesh and blood. The more Jen thought about it, she realized that Texas versus family is only a difficult decision if you value your family, and Jen knew that wasn't the case with her father. Elena took things differently this time. Despite years of optimism toward the idea of Johnny returning, she was much less optimistic this time. While Elena still would not admit to the probable fact that Johnny wasn't coming back at least for another half dozen years or so, she did have a more sobered countenance when she talked about Johnny. She looked sadder, and while Elena did not have the strongest ability to read people, she did notice her children, especially Ronnie. Ronnie almost failed first grade. He asked every single day when his dad was coming back, 6 straight months. He couldn't do schoolwork. His teacher said he cried every day in class. He said he felt sick every morning. Elena and Miss Algio and Principal Manganel had to have an end-of-the-year conference to determine whether Ronnie would even pass first grade. What Aunt Julie said later stuck with Jen. Everyone always thinks that what they do doesn't matter, that all the decisions they make only affect themselves, but every decision affects others. Decisions have casualties. Sometimes Jen felt like a casualty. And that was chapter 12. All right, so with this, kind of get into, it's kind of a little bit sadder and everything. I don't know. But, kind of give some backstory a little bit to why Jen is a little bit the way she is, why she's a little bit, I don't know, angry, I guess, with life, a little insecure and stuff like that. Man, it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of sad and everything. But you can kind of see how it affects the families. I guess I'll talk about Joy at the end. The idea of like every decision having consequences and actions. Like it's very easy to just think, oh well, who cares? Screw it. It's not gonna affect just my life. But like your decisions you make, they affect all the people around you and all the people that care about you, especially your family and like friends and stuff. So, things that, I don't know, just had some friends and family just go through make some bad decisions sometimes. It's like, man, I just wish, and then often noticing later that, hey, this really did affect the people around me a lot. It's just really easy to do because it's really easy to get caught up in the moment and being so, down about whatever, or so kind of focused on your own business, your own like wants and needs that it's easy to ignore the people around you kind of thing, and make decisions that are kind of selfish a little bit. And in this case, Jen's dad definitely did that. And I know it's kind of sucks, whatever. A couple things at the end of the chapter. It said, his teacher, Miss Algio, and the principal Manganel had to have a meeting. So Miss Manganel was my 2nd grade teacher, and Miss Algio was my 7th grade teacher. So just give a little shout out to my former teachers. They were both nice, very nice teachers. And give a little shout out to them. One of my favorite lines from the chapter was when Jen said sometimes Jen wondered what revelries awaited Johnny in Texas that were so incredible as to abandon his own flesh and blood. Yeah, man, it's wild. I don't know, I feel like that's just kind of a rough comment, man. I don't know, and it says, then she goes on to say, but Jen thought about, that Texas versus family is only a difficult decision if you value your family. And that's kind of thing. And I think there's a part of it, with this dad. I think there's like a small part of him that like, hey, maybe there was, maybe he kind of liked. He seemed like he like genuinely kind of liked the kids and stuff, like Jen in that. But it was sort of like, I don't even know what, it's kind of like this afterthought kind of thing, like it's kind of like this idea of like, oh, I can't be a really good dad, so I'm not there, or yeah, I know there's kids out there and stuff like that, and sometimes it's a cycle, man. Like the book doesn't really talk about it, or write anything about Johnny's backstory or anything like that. But one of the things about when you have people that like sometimes are just not there for their kids and stuff. Sometimes it's because that's how they grew up. It's like, well, I grew up on my dad around. I came out all right. My kids will be okay if I'm not around. And that is a very sad thing. I love, love, love being a dad. It is like an S tier. Having children is like an S tier life experience. Like it's so wonderful. Like I love my kids. They make me crazy, and it's hard sometimes. But I really just like love them so much, and I feel like so lucky to have such great kids and stuff. And part of the reason why is we've gone out of our way to really, really parent them well. It's part of the reason why they've turned out to be very nice. But they're very nice kids and everything. As a teacher, that I've seen a lot of kids, and generally the kids that are nice is because their parents are nice, or their parents, their parents, did a really nice job parenting them, doesn't mean that kids are perfect, of course. No one's perfect. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. But just being there in their lives, like, just makes such a difference with that. I've seen so many students are just insecure when they have like parents not around. Like, man, what is wrong with me? Man, I just watched this random like clip, or whatever. You get that like, clip about, well, like, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, right? And it's just like, it literally will make you cry. Like, it's like the dad finally comes back, and like his dad, like Will Smith's like dad finally comes back. If you haven't seen it, it's so crazy. It literally just made me cry the other day because it was so ridiculous. But it's like, this Will Smith comes back, and like the dad. And if you've seen this episode, I've probably only seen about like a third of the Fresh Prince episodes or whatever. The original ones, not the remake on Peacock. Ha! Please. Anyways, sorry. But the original one's Will Smith, right? So I've probably only seen about a third of the episodes or whatever. But the one, this is just brutal. Like, the dad comes back in Will Smith's life, and like Will's like so excited because the dad's like super cool. And it's like, oh yeah, we should go on a trip, bro. We need to go out of town together and just like hang out, man. So he's in his life for like 36 hours, like 2 days, 48 hours or so. And then he's like, oh yeah, sorry, bro. I gotta actually go by myself, man. I'm sorry. We'll hit you up next time. And Will's like, he's just kind of like, oh, okay. And he knew his dad just like copping out and like didn't want to for whatever reason. And then he like is talking to Uncle Phil. Uncle Phil's like, man, I'm so sorry, bro. Will, what can I do? And he's like, well, I don't need that guy. I don't need him. I didn't learn, I need him when he wasn't there when I learned how to shave. He wasn't there when I, met my first girlfriend. He wasn't there when I, played in the basketball team. Like, naming all these different events of his life that he wasn't there for. And then yelled, and went from that to like a scream cry of, why doesn't he want me? So like, it's just like, oh my gosh, it was like brutal, like that insecure in the back of your head, and that, that somehow these kids, like, they know, hey, it's not personal, but like it's so easy to like take that personal as a kid, like, hey, my parent wasn't around, or my left because of whatever. And there's so many different strenuous circumstances with stuff. I mean, life is so complicated. There's no easy answers, no like, really easy, oh well, it's always the fault of the dad. It's always like, whatever. So many things are complicated. It's never like an easy answer kind of stuff, but it just sucks because like as a teacher and like someone's been in youth ministry helping out teens and stuff, you just see these kids are so insecure sometimes. And even this girl, they had in my class one year, her dad had died. It just seemed really like I don't know, man. She was just looking for like extra attention, probably maybe because could be because I'm a man, guy as well, obviously. So I don't know if it was like kind of that, but just she was always looking for like attention and stuff, and it was just like really sad to see. And I've seen it with like teenagers and stuff, not kids, people, their parents die, they're just parents not around, or or don't seem to really care or whatever. And you just bring a lot of insecurities, and the more you're going to be there for your kids. And I was ever so lucky to grow up with parents that really cared for and encouraged me, and it's kind of like a lifelong goal of mine, so to speak, just to be that to other kids, other people. That if I can just be around and try to be encouraging and try to even kind of give some of that self-esteem to kids, um, that they are worthwhile and they are, good, and they're, people, they are lovable and wantable, and stuff like that. And just kind of care about them as much as possible. Like that's something I try to do in my class. I feel like for the most part, I'm able to do that in class, where I feel like my students, whether adults or young children, I feel like they feel valued, like in my classes and stuff like that. So it's something I go out of my way to do. And it's not always easy. Sometimes kids are annoying, right? Or sometimes adults are annoying, right? No, and it's, you have these like kind of clashes and stuff like that sometimes. But it's, that's normal and everything. But it's just something that I wanted to kind of talk about with that, because that is a kind of crazy line that, she just feels like she's absolutely not valued and stuff like that. And that just how much it affected like her little brother and everything. And the other line that I like a lot it feels weird to be like, let me tell you how great I wrote this. It just feels so weird talking about, but I don't know. I'm just talking about it, I guess. Talking like it's not my own writing, but no, in chapter 12 it says, sometimes melancholy has a smell. That's one of my favorite lines of the book. Because we're kind of like, our humans are kind of designed to remember smells a lot sometimes, like that. So sometimes we're not even conscious we remember them either, but we'll like smell something and then it will make us think of something else, right? Like that's like a proven scientific thing that like, you can smell certain smells and it brings you back to like a certain time in your life, or a certain, flower that your, grandma or cousin used to have in their yard or whatever. Just like there's so many different things, or colognes or perfumes, and in this case the cheap aftershave that Johnny wore, which I can imagine him being like wearing like too much of it, and it being like really strong because he's always trying to be a super cool guy, and everything like that. Yeah, but I think that's something that can happen. It can easily make you think of something sad as well if you get the right smell. So that's sort of thing that I like from the story. And then, as we said, like Ronnie really struggled. It's hard for especially young kids with that. And it's amazing how attached you can be like to something just in a couple days. Even though like Johnny was only there for a couple days, I think you can kind of like wrap your brain about, oh my gosh, this is what my life's going to be now. I remember a couple times, we had, a job, like even like a job that you thought you were going to get. You're like, you really felt good about, like, oh man, I feel like I'm going to get this job. And then you start to like put your life around that. Like be like, oh, this is what my life's going to look like when I do this job now. Or I get paid this much or whatever, or whatever, like, or even I remember back in the day when I was single, I'd be like, oh my gosh, this is what my life would be like if, I married like this girl, or if I got together with like, like I would just like think, and it was almost always worse in my head than, I'm not saying this right, but my life is better now than I ever imagined it would be. So as far as, with that, because my wife is awesome and I'm very proud of her, and she's very super cool. Super cool. Anyways, nothing about that, but that is chapter 12. So a little bit backstory about it, kind of what she feels, and kind of get into like her brain a little bit. Why sometimes she does and acts to certain things. Why the family's kind of struggling with money as well, obviously, with just one income. And then Lane not really having that great of a job. The combination is always tough to that, man. Man, shout out to all the single moms out there. I'll tell you that. I mean, they're just absolutely freaking heroes. Single dads as well. But they're a little bit less frequent. But, man, parenting is wonderful, and I love it so much. But I just can't even wrap my head around what it would be like when if it was only me taking care of all the kids, and not the wife and I, where we could switch off and be like, Tag, you're it, or you do this, you help with this part, and you do that part. Because we do a lot of sharing of the responsibilities, and I just can't even imagine doing it all yourself, man. So these superstar moms, man, God bless them, man, absolute crowns in heaven, and that, you are doing amazing things, and absolutely superstars out there. All right, well, that is it for Chapter 12. Chapter 13, we're going to get back into some more happenings in Jen as we start to get a little bit closer to the play. Jen starts kind of go to youth group a little bit more. I think she goes to youth group next chapter. She's in school and all that. So it'll be a good time. And thank you for all the people that are listening. I hope you're enjoying it. I hope you're kind of liking it. So I know a lot of the people that listen are friends of mine and stuff like that. But if you have teenagers, that's something that this kind of book is kind of written more towards that age group. If that's something, any teens out there that might kind of really enjoy it, this would be something to do that. Again, this is pretty mildly PG-13, probably just PG book. There's only a little stuff here and there, with some of the comments that the kids make at school that kind of might push it to PG-13, but there's just some realism of the crazy, wild, stupid things that high school kids say, to each other sometimes, or middle school. But it's pretty clean, and it definitely has a good message to it if you continue it through. All right, much love to you guys, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone. I'm grateful for all of you. Goodbye.